Hi everyone. Today we are exploring one of the most quietly fascinating corners of Rotterdam, the Binnenrot. This unassuming square is where it all began. If Rotterdam had a birthplace, this would be it. Right now we are looking at St. Laurenskerk, the only medieval building that survived the bombing of Rotterdam in 1940. But before we get too carried away with history, let me show you what this area looks like today. To get a feel for the scale of this historic square, let's walk across the Binnenrot, starting from the ultra-modern Markthal and ending right back here at St. Laurens Church. On your right, you will see the striking arch of the Markthal, part food market, part apartment building and part art gallery. And on your left, that quirky pencil-shaped building is called the Black Toren, though most people just call it the Pencil. Right next to it are the famous cube houses designed by Piet Blom, and the giant shoe-shaped sculptures on the square are a homage to the old shoemakers guild that once operated here. And at the end of this path, we come full circle, arriving at the majestic St. Laurenskerk. The St. Laurenskerk or St. Laurens Church is Rotterdam's oldest building and its only surviving piece of medieval architecture. It was built in the 15th century and was heavily damaged in the 1940s bombing. The Binnenrot is the birthplace of Rotterdam, and it all began in late 1200s with a simple dam on the Rotte River, giving the city its name and setting the stage for a thriving port city. But first, let's walk back from the medieval to the modern. The greatest attraction of Binnenrot, the Markthal. And here it is, Rotterdam's iconic Markthal. It opened in 2014, but the idea behind it was brewing long before. Rotterdam wanted something that wasn't just functional but beautiful, something that could reflect the city's bold and modern spirit, and the result? A food market meets cathedral meets art gallery. The building was designed by MVRDV, a Dutch architecture firm known for its playful and experimental style. From the outside, it's shaped like a giant arch. But what really turns heads is what is inside. A massive digital mural stretched across the entire ceiling called the Horn of Plenty. It is one of the largest artworks in the world, designed by artists Annio Konen and I.R.S. Think fruits, vegetables, fish, flowers, supersized and floating above your head like a psychedelic fresco. But the Markthal isn't just about aesthetics. It cleverly combines 120 food stalls and restaurants with 228 apartments tucked inside the arch. So yes, people actually live inside the Markthal with windows that open out into the market. It stands exactly where people once gathered centuries ago to trade meat and fish in the open air. So in a way, Markthal isn't a break from Rotterdam's history. It's a bold continuation of it, just reimagined for today. Now let's step inside, and it's a whole different vibe. The ceiling towers above you, covered in that massive artwork, Horn of Plenty, and it honestly feels like you're walking through a surreal digital Sistine Chapel, just with fruits and fish instead of saints and angels. Around me it's buzzing. People are snapping photos, heads tilted back trying to get the whole mural in frame. You've got tourists, locals, kids licking gelato, couples sharing stroopwafel. The kind of place where everyone's either eating, buying something delicious, or already planning their next snack. There are stalls selling everything: fresh bread, aged cheese, Vietnamese spring rolls, Spanish tapas, Turkish sweets. It's like a little world food festival happening every day right under one roof. But despite all the hustle, there is something comforting about the space. The natural light, the arched openness, and the smell of baked goods floating through. It's chaotic in the best possible way. But my effort now is to find a vantage point where I can take in the full of the ceiling. And I have found it. Can you believe this is a digital artwork? This massive mural above me is called Horn of Plenty. It was created by Annio Konen and I.R.S. and what you are seeing isn't painted. It is digitally rendered using 3D techniques with software similar to what Pixar uses in animated films. The entire design was split into 4,000 aluminum panels, printed and then installed up here like a puzzle. The whole ceiling, over 11,000 square meters, is covered in these surreal, oversized images of fruits, vegetables, flowers, and even insects. It's all a playful nod to the 17th century Dutch still life paintings, but at a modern, jaw dropping scale. And fittingly, it celebrates the harvest of food being sold just below. Walking out of the market hall, I couldn't help but think, if something like this were proposed in most Indian cities, it would probably be laughed out of the room. A huge, hollow arch filled with nothing but open space in the middle. Such a waste of square footage, people would say. But that's exactly the point. This isn't just about stacking shops into a tight grid. It's about creating an experience and letting the design breathe. The Dutch didn't just build a market, they built a space that blends function with imagination. In India, we are modernizing at breakneck speed. Glass facades, high rises, malls. But what we often miss is the soul of it all. We need innovation not just in construction, but in thought. In how we design spaces where people live, eat, walk, and feel connected. The market hall is a reminder that great cities don't just look modern, they think modern. Having been amazed by Market Hall, my next stop is just a few steps away, the famous cube houses. They sit right next to the quirky pencil building, that pointed tower on the left that I had shown, and just across from the Rotterdam Black metro station, which you will see on my right in just a moment. This entire square is like Rotterdam showing off its architectural imagination. Now about these cube houses, they were designed by Dutch architect Piet Blom back in the late 1970s. His idea was to create a kind of urban forest where each cube represents a tree and together they form a geometric forest canopy. But instead of growing vertically like regular apartments, these cubes are tilted at a 45-degree angle, perched on top of concrete pillars. At first glance, they look like something out of a video game. But yes, they are fully functional homes. There are 38 of them and people actually live inside. Each one is about 100 square meters, though with all those tilted walls, the usable space is much less. And if you are curious, they rent for around 2000 euros a month, depending on the unit. One of the cubes has been turned into a show cube or Kijk-Kubus, a small museum where visitors can peek inside and see what it is like to live in a literal architectural experiment. My aim is to go there and have a visit of these houses and see what it is like to step inside. Blom's philosophy was that urban life didn't have to be boring or boxy. He wanted to create spaces that inspire conversation, push people out of their comfort zones, quite literally, and make you rethink what a house could be. In many ways, these cube houses are like Rotterdam itself, bold, eccentric, and a little weird, but completely original. As I walk up to the Kijk-Kubus, the cube houses start to lean over me. They are not towering or massive, but still, standing beneath them makes you feel a little off balance, like you are stepping into a dream. Honestly, it reminded me of that scene from Inception, where the city folds in on itself. The walls are sloped, painted in bold yellow, and somehow, people live inside these tilted spaces. It feels like a living experiment. Part architecture, part psychology, part art, and today I get to peek inside. Entry to the Cube House Museum costs 3.5 euros. Here is something the Europeans do really well. They've taken something that sparks curiosity and turned it into a steady stream of revenue. A strange angled house becomes a sustainable tourist attraction. Simple but smart. Outside the museum, there's already a queue of tourists, all eager to go in. A security guard stands at the door, not to check tickets but to control the flow. The stairs inside are narrow and spiral sharply, so only one group can move at a time, either in or out. They let people in small batches, And interestingly, there is no advance ticketing. Of course, you can go to the website and buy an advance ticket, but there is no need for that. You just walk in, pay the fee at the desk inside, and start exploring. It's all quite relaxed but efficient. As I wait my turn, I can't help but admire how something as quirky as this tilted cubes perched over a metro station became a cultural landmark, a revenue model, and a photo spot all at once. I climb up and reach the living room. First, I pay for my ticket. Unfortunately, my museum card is not accepted here. Fortunately, it's only 3.5 euros, so still affordable for an Indian. I look around the living room, which is adjoined by the kitchen. It feels small. Honestly, I would not want to live in such an experimental house, though it would be fascinating as a hotel accommodation. The rooms are not connected as what we usually have in our houses in India. Maybe it's my Indian mindset, but in my house, I prefer everything to be connected and flowing from one another. Here, the whole thing is built in layers. It also doesn't feel very windy, almost causing a claustrophobic feeling. I'm not sure, but I feel that a better designed high rise in a smaller area and also carrying a sustainable design could actually accommodate more units and still feel more connected. Here, a single house itself feels like multiple units boxed in together. Maybe that is the trade off. This house isn't about efficiency, it's about imagination. We now reach the bedroom and the adjoining study room. The bedroom is also quite small. This house is clearly not built for big families like the ones we have. I wonder how a family like mine with 6 members would have managed in a place like this. Honestly, it would have been disastrous. From the windows, the city peeks back at us. Tilted rooftops, streets, and trams sliding past at an angle. Yet, one thing that surprised me is the silence. For a house that sits right next to a busy road and a metro station, the noise levels are far lower than what you would expect. It feels almost insulated, relatively quiet, a quiet pocket inside the bustle of Rotterdam. The study space, though small, has a certain charm. The sunlight angles sharply through the slanted glass, giving the desk a warm glow. An artist, a writer, or maybe even a student can find inspiration here, though for everyday family life it feels cramped. Maybe these houses were built for the lonely city dweller. However, it is a reminder. This house wasn't designed to be practical, but maybe to provoke imagination, to think of new ways of thinking of urban design, and that is what Rotterdam is all about. The study room again leads up to the terrace area, which opens up under a triangular roof. It is the one space in this house that feels connected to the outside world, like a little observatory. You can imagine spending a night here under the starry sky, a romantic evening with your partner, or a fun cozy night with the kids looking out at the city lights. For a house that feels boxed in at times, this corner must have been thought of as a corner of openness by the designer. Walking out of the cube houses, we step straight into another layer of Rotterdam's history. On this side lies the Oude Haven, or the Old Harbour, the city's oldest marina dating back to the 14th century. This is where the Rotte River once flowed into the Maas River, and around these waters, the earliest merchants, shipbuilders, and fishermen set up their trade. Centuries before Rotterdam became a global port, this was its humble waterfront. Today, the old harbour feels very different. The warehouses have turned into cafes and restaurants, and the docks are filled with historic boats along modern side terraces. It's a popular hangout spot, especially in the evenings when students, locals, and tourists gather here by the water. And yet, the sights from Binnenrot are not over. The St. Lawrence Church and the lively market that gathers here on Saturdays and Tuesdays tell another story. But that is for another time. For now, this walk has just shown how Rotterdam blends the medieval with the modern, the experimental with the historic. The Binnenrot may be a small square, but it captures the spirit of an entire city, bold, resilient, and always reinventing itself. And this is just one chapter. There is so much more waiting, from hidden corners of Rotterdam to stories across Europe. So stick around, the journey continues in the next video. Bye.